a problem in getting recording got solved?
Yeah, sir. It's solved.
Okay, fine. Okay. So there's a huge content. Those who have some aptitude towards zoology or animals or other things can enjoy this course very well. Sometimes some students find it extremely trouble. Consider this course, entomology course, as extremely boring to study, because some students argue that there are a lot of scientific names to remember, a lot of terms to remember, and that's pretty difficult. But as you move forward in your course from the next semester onwards, you can find that this course is the one which has extreme practical significance in the field of agriculture. That means insects are the one which farmers consider as the one of the major factor that affects their cropping. So for them, managing an insect crop is extremely difficult and needs an expert supervision, an expert advice. Just like a doctor, you have to diagnose it. What is the real problem in that field? What is the real situation in the field? What is the pest causing that damage? And you have to formulate a recommendation by which the farmer can solve that issue and raise his or her crop successfully. So I'll just ask you a question. Anyone can answer. Have you ever come across any pest problem in any of the crop you have cultivated? It can be vegetable or ornamental.
Yes,
Any of
sir.
ah, yes. Who was that person? I couldn't trace that. Ah,
ടൊമാറ്റോയില് വെള്ളീച്ച.
tomato, vellicha. Okay. So we call it as whitefly, as the name whitefly. We got it converted into Malayalam as vellicha. That's the same name, vellicha. So how does it look like? What is the color?
വൈറ്റ്. ശരിക്ക് നമ്മള് നോക്കുമ്പോ ഒരു പൗഡർ പോലെ തോന്നും, പക്ഷെ ഇളക്കുമ്പോ തൊട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ഫുൾ ഇങ്ങനെ പറക്കും.
Okay. So how did it damage the crop? Could you manage it effectively?
ഫാം യാർഡ് മാനുവർ, ഇപ്പൊ നമ്മള് തൊഴുത്ത് കഴുകണ വെള്ളവും കൗ യൂറിനും മിക്സ് ചെയ്തിട്ട് നമ്മൾ ടാങ്കിലേക്ക് ആക്കില്ലേ,
Ah,
അത് അടിക്കുമ്പോ കുറവന്നെ ഉള്ളു, അല്ലാണ്ട് ഫുള്ളായിട്ട് പോകത്തൊന്നുമില്ല.
okay. So we can reduce the population by certain management practices. So here our job as a BSc Agri graduate after completion of the course is to give a solid management practice to these kind of problems faced by the farmers. So this course has extreme practical significance. After maybe second or third year, if your neighbors or relatives, those who know that you are studying in studying for BSc Agriculture, will start asking certain questions. I have this problem in my home. What will you recommend? I have this pest attack in this vegetable. How can you manage it? So you have to have some solutions in mind, while that can be learned while you undergo this entomology courses. There are about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 courses along with agroclinic offered by entomology department. So after completing all this, we will try to equip you with all the knowledge needed to tackle these pest problems in the field. This is what entomology means to agriculture. So I will be mainly dealing with the first part of this course, that is insect morphology. What is morphology? What is morphology? It's an easy question. Anyone? Otherwise, I will ask, I'll pick out the external features, external appearance. Yes, external features. So I'll be dealing with the external features of an insect. What are the morphological characters of an insect? Just like if you can explain the morphology of a human being, you can say that each human being will have a pair of eyes, a pair of ears, a nose with two nostrils, teeth, two pairs of arms, two pairs of legs. So just like that, morphologically we can say, and each arm will have 10 fingers, leg will have 10 fingers. So just like that, here also we will try to understand the morphological features of insects. So today's class, we will be just discussing about a brief outline of entomology. That first I will discuss about the evolutionary part of entomology. That means how insects are related to other groups of animals, especially with other groups of animals which are related to it. Can you name the phylum in which insects belong? I think you have studied in your plus one, plus two. Which phylum does insect belong?
Arthropoda.
Arthropoda. Yes, good. So we will discuss about the relation between insects and the other members of the arthropod, and at the end we will study about the history of entomology in our country, how entomology study goes of developed in our country. So this is a very simple thing. There won't be much difficulty in understanding all those things, all of these materials we are discussing it today. Something you might have studied in your plus one, plus two classes. Okay, I will share my PPT. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. So, as you all know, entomology is the study of
Insects.
insects. Yes, entomology is a study of insects, and it is a branch of zoology. All those things you are familiar. It's a branch of zoology. And whether Hasina madam taught you what is the etymology of entomology? What do you mean by etymology? Anyone? I will just type in the term. Word meaning. Yes, word meaning. So this is just a minute. Okay. So the name of the word entomology came from two words, entomon. The entomon means segmented or cut into pieces. That means the body can be cut into several pieces, or we can call it as notched. The meaning involves notched, segmented, cut into pieces, or it simply refers insect, and logos means science or study. So entomon means segmented or cut into pieces, and logos means study. So have you ever observed a caterpillar? Yes or no? Yes. Did you see that their body is divided into or cut into parts or it is segmented. Yes. So their body is divided. Then one more insect easily you can distinguish is if you have observed grasshoppers under the wing, the body, if you observe, you can see the abdomen part of the insect, you can see the body is segmented, it is cut into pieces. So that is the meaning entomon, it is segmented or cut into pieces. As we discussed, it is belongs to the phylum Arthropoda, and this is an insect which is this is a group of animal which is extremely old in our world. If you see the evolution of different organisms, insects evolved around 350 million years ago. That means around 100 our humans evolved only 4 to 7 million years ago, but these ones almost evolved around 100 times before that. So this has a long evolutionary history. This long evolutionary history enables the insects to survive whatever adverse conditions imposed on the insects. Say during 1950, just after the Second World War, we discovered insecticides. And at that time, we thought that with the help of insecticides, we will solve the entire problem of insects in the world. But we couldn't. The insects learned or developed the ability to survive the effect of pesticides. And still, the insects are going strong, stronger and stronger. Whatever methods of control we devise, insects have the ability to overcome it. Usually in Malayalam, we used to have a saying that നിന്നേക്കാൾ കുറച്ച് കൂടുതൽ ഓണം ഉണ്ടതാണെന്ന് നമ്മൾ മലയാളത്തിൽ പറയും. That means I have an experience, more years of experience compared to others. So if you try to control an insect, the insect will normally say to us that yeah, you won't be able to control us fully because I have more years, millions of years more experience in this earth than you people, and I know how to survive better in this earth than you people. That's how insects have the ability to survive this survive in this ecosystem very well. And there is a saying that if some ruler feels that if the world is at war and some ruler feels that will destroy this part of world with a nuclear bomb, there is a saying that the only organism surviving that nuclear explosion or nuclear holocaust will be a cockroach. So yes, Safa has told it, it's a cockroach. So that is the survival ability of this insect. This is because of the huge evolutionary history of insect. And this is the largest group of animals among all the living organisms together. Insects contribute, and I will show a pie diagram next. And among the insect group, we only know about 1.5 million species of insects. That means about 15 lakhs of insects are known to human beings. But scientists is assuming that there are about 10 times species which are unknown to us. That means about 10 to 30 million species of insects are unknown to us. We have not at all discovered it. Only 1.5 million, 15 lakh insect species have been identified. A vast majority we have not yet identified. That is a huge diversity of insects. Every year, scientists are discovering newer and newer species. So this is the pie diagram. You can, if you see the pie diagram, see more than half of it, roughly about 60% of the total living organisms in this world occupied by the insects. And arthropod, roughly about 60-65, if you contribute it will be roughly about 70-75% of the total animal world. And other invertebrates, plants, other than flowering plants contribute roughly about say 5 vertebrates, less than 5. So this is the superiority of insects over other living organisms. Insects are a large group, a largest group among the living world of our earth. And coming to the economic importance of insects, usually whenever we discuss about insects, can just type in, everyone can type in the first insect that comes to your mind, the name of the insect that first comes to your mind. Everyone can just type it in the chat box. Whatever the name of insect that comes to your mind, you can type it. Butterfly, honeybee, butterfly, housefly, bee, butterfly, cockroach, grasshopper, cockroach, honeybee, cockroach, ant, honeybee, butterflies, cockroach, mosquito, housefly, lizard. Lizard is not an insect. Lizard is not an insect. Okay. So the most votes went for honeybees. Okay. So this is because honeybee is a productive insect. Beetles, yes, good. Beetles is another group. Locust, yes, yes. So these are a wasp. I think Safna has got a sting from wasp. That's why she is remembered. Safna, whether you received a sting from wasp, spider is not an insect. We'll discuss it today itself. Safna,
No,
have
sir.
you, have you received a sting from wasp?
No, no.
No. I thought that's why you are remembering. Those who got a sting from wasp, they will remember it during their entire lifetime. That's extremely painful, more than honeybees. So most of you voted for a honeybee. Honeybee is an organism which serves the human unlike any other organism in the world. Usually, there is a saying that if honeybees vanish from the earth's surface, humans will die of starvation, because honeybees helps in the pollination of most of the crops. So if honeybees are vanished from the some due to some reason, if honeybees got extinct from the earth's surface, we will get deprived of food because of the lack of pollination. And other than pollination, that is a huge service, unnoticed service given by honeybees. It gives honey and all, honey bags, etc. So that is the secondary part of it actually. Then silk. If you have worn any cloth containing silk, that is from an insect, silkworm. So these two are productive insects. That means certain insects will produce something which are useful to us. Then everyone might have studied about, heard about the Drosophila. Drosophila is a minute insect, minute fly, which is used for genetic studies. The studies on Drosophila is now helping us to cure our diseases. The scientists learn about the genetic influence of certain things with the help of this model organism, Drosophila. So this is the model animal on which most of the genetic studies are still conducted. And that genetic studies are later extrapolated to human beings. Then, have you heard about insects used for controlling insects? Have you seen any insect feeding on another insect? Yes. Can you name any insect, Rishana? Any insect feeding on another insect? might have studied in school. Praying mantis is good. Yes. Dragonfly, yes. Extremely good. I thought you will answer another one. No. Have you heard about ladybird beetles? Ladybird? Yes. These are the ones which are commercially exploited for pest management. That means insects feed on ants. Yes, ants. You might have seen bigger ants. നമ്മള് പുളിയുറുമ്പ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. Large size ants feeding on other insects. So these kind of things can be utilized. Insects which are feeding on other insects can be used for controlling insects. If we have an insect problem, we can multiply these insects in the lab and release it into the field so that this kind of pests can be controlled. Imagine, say, ant is you told dragonfly. Dragonfly feeds on other insects. So we can multiply dragonfly in our lab in huge numbers, and this dragonfly can be released into the environment for the control of certain insects. So this is just an hypothetical example I given. Normally it's a bit difficult to rear dragonfly because it is a bit aquatic and all. So, but there are certain insects studied in the next course which is multiplied for pest management. Then have you heard about entomophagy? What is entomophagy? This is the term you will remember in your life because after 10 years you will all, I am sure you all will be part of it. Have you ever eaten an insect? Yes or no? Have you ever eaten an insect? No. One person told us no, 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 no. Ants? Yes. No. I am sure how many of you are, I don't know, about more than 90 attending this class. So I am sure all of you might have eaten an ant in sugar. Yes, yes, that's what I am telling. I am sure you have taken at least one insect knowingly or unknowingly during your lifetime. Sure, that is damn sure. So those who say that I am a vegetarian, I will say that there is no vegetarian among human beings. Unknowingly, you might have taken. Even if you pick up some leaf from it, you don't know because most of the insects are microscopic. If you feed that leaf, take that leaf, many insects are microscopic. You won't even know whether an insect is present or not. With this kind of huge population of huge diversity of insect present in this environment, there is always a chance that you will be ingesting a insect along with your diet. And most of the time, what you consume, you may consume pulses, green gram pulses. Most of the times, it will be infested with insects. You won't know whether insect is present or not. You might have said ants because most of the time the sugar which is kept in your home will get infested with ant. So while you put that sugar in the for preparing tea or anything, one or few ants will be the accidentally consume it. So and usually നമ്മൾ മലയാളത്തിൽ പറയുന്ന പോലെ ഉറുമ്പിനെ കഴിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ കണ്ണ് തെളിയും എന്ന് പറയുന്ന പോലെ you might have said that also after consuming that. So this is becoming, this entomophagy is becoming an industry now, already an industry, and it is a hugely developing industry now. That means there are commercial rearing units, industrial units to rear insects. That means they multiply insects, especially crickets and all, and that crickets will be dried, powdered, and mixed with diet and provided to human beings. Because insects are a huge source of protein. You might have seen in Chinese, Taiwanese people and all feeding on insects. It's not so. That is their tradition. But now, among different parts of the world, not only in this Southeast Asia and all. Different parts of the world, there is an industry coming up where insects are reared. These insects are powdered and mixed with certain material, even chocolates. I will show a few pictures. So after 10 years, I am mark my word, you will be seeing chocolates containing insects in the supermarkets. Still now, if you check in online stores, you can still see chocolates or other food materials prepared for human consumption, because this is the cheapest protein source. What is a common protein source for us now? What is the source of protein for us now? In your diet, which is the source of protein? Pulses. Keralites, you don't say pulses. If someone says egg, yeah, okay. If some meat, fish, meat, milk, egg, etc. If it was from North India, I must have agreed pulses. Keralites, I won't agree. It's the source of protein is not pulses. Our source of protein is non-vegetarian, especially meat and all. Fish. You know, the population of fish is declining, and the production of meat. If you have to produce, my voice is breaking. No, okay, fine. Is it breaking now? Is it clear?
No, sir.
Okay, fine. So in order to produce a meat, there is some statistical calculations for that. I don't exactly remember it. Say, remember, for Indians, mainly our country as a whole, it's mainly a vegetarian population. So we're excluding Kerala, some of South Indian people and all. Where pulses are the major source of proteins. Other countries, especially Western countries, they rely on meat for their protein. So meat means from animals, from chicken, etc. For rearing these animals and chicken, you need food, and that food has to come from the land. That means if you visit any Western country, you can see large areas under maize cultivation, huge thousands and lakhs of hectares under maize cultivation. This maize is mainly meant as a fodder, feed for animals. That means large tract of land where we cultivate crops to feed animals, not to feed human beings. Say after 10 or 15 years, land is getting scarce. There won't be much land to rear, to cultivate fodder to rear animals. So insects are considered as a source of protein which can replace animal protein. And another thing is that it can be reared on waste food material, the food waste which we generate. So it is a kind of recycling. Every year, the food waste which we generate is getting more, the quantity is getting increased day by day. That you can understand. That food waste itself can be used for rearing. So this is a kind of thought that is emerging. It is already put forth in the market. I'll show a few pictures later. Then we have harmful insects. We have discussed about beneficial insects because I discussed about beneficial insects first because that is the huge service that is given by insects. The harmful part is very less. So it pollinates the crops, produces seeds, helps us in some fundamentals, genetic studies. It helps to control insect pests, and it maybe at least for a few meager percent of population, it is used as a food. But after say 10 or 20 years, these insects can become a part of the diet of human beings. And these insects can cause extreme harm to crops. It can act as a vectors of diseases. Can you name a few diseases which are transmitted by insects? At least a few. I think it's familiar to you. Yes, malaria, dengue, etc. Yes, this kind of mosquito-borne diseases. Then veterinary pest, that means chikungunya. Yes, if someone is as lockdown has prompted many of us to go for rearing of pets, and these pets can have lot of insect, fleas, mites, etc. So veterinary pests are the household pests, as you all told about cockroaches and all, cockroaches, house flies. These are household pests. So this cause harm to us. So this is a picture of honeybee that you may all be familiar. This is a silkworm webbing its pupae, cocoon, and this is the picture of. Can anyone identify it? No. Ladybird beetle. Yes, this is the picture of ladybird. This is the insect which we use to manage other insects. See this. You read the. I am not reading it out. You can read the wraps. What is written on it? This is are taken from 2018 Guardian. Guardian is a newspaper, well-known, renowned newspaper from UK. This is about 3 years back. So the first is insect infused jungle bar with dates, chocolates and cricket flour. Cricket എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ എന്താന്ന് മനസ്സിലായിട്ടുണ്ടാവും. ചീവീടാണ് നമ്മുടെ മലയാളത്തില്. Yes. ചീവീടാണ്. These crickets will be mass multiplied and dried, powdered and mixed with chocolate and dates. Then the bottom one, Jiminy's dark chocolate with cricket flour. So maybe after 10 years, you will be having your dairy milk, fig and honey, or dates and fig, or anything with cricket flour. Imagine like that. So your dairy milk wrapper will be having this with all those, what are all the flavors which you see. At the end, there will be one sentence, enriched with cricket flour protein. So that is the thing which can happen. Then at the right side, see the company, that is a very popular company, Ento with the that's the company's name, Cricket Crunch Bar. I don't know, I forgot the name. You might have seen an ad for a thing, Hungry Kia. That is the catchphrase that they use, Hungry Kia, and that's a bar there. Can someone say which brand? Snickers. Yes, Snickers. Yes, I forgot that brand name. So in the ad of say Snickers, they say that if they consume one bar of Snickers, it will be, it is enough to provide enough energy for a meal, because it has a lot of nuts, so it will provide the protein, sugar, etc. So that is enough to provide energy for at least for 3 to 4 hours. Just like that, this Cricket Crunch bar, and see the last part, delicious roasted crickets in milk chocolate. Delicious roasted crickets in milk chocolate. So this will provide enough protein for you and you can replace a meal. So this is how entomology is progressing. So at least a few of you can think of starting some business after your course with the knowledge you have gained from entomology. Okay. So now let's see one by one how insects are related to the other arthropods, its phylum. First, we will see the characteristics of arthropod. I think that is familiar to you, might have studied it. Arthro means joint, podos means leg, arthros means joint, and podos means leg. That means arthropods are those organisms where they have jointed legs or jointed appendages. Have you ever seen a crab? Crab, ഞണ്ടിനെ കണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ടോ? Yes. Have you seen the jointed appendages of crabs, isn't it? Their appendages are joined. So that is the typical feature, jointed appendages. And it's the largest phylum, as insects are the largest group of the living world. Then the phylum which contain insects will be the largest phylum, that's known to. And it consists of lobsters, നമ്മൾ കൊഞ്ച് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്, crabs, spiders, mites, insects, centipedes, and millipedes. Can anyone name what is centipede and millipede? മലയാളത്തില് എന്താണ് സെന്റിപീഡിന്റെ മലയാളം? ഏതാ? യെസ്, ഗുഡ്. മില്ലിപീഡ്?
അട്ട.
തേരട്ട. ആരോ ഐശ്വര്യ പറഞ്ഞു തേരട്ട. യെസ്, centipedes and millipedes. We will also study about it. And 84% of the animals belong to this phylum. So arthropods are those organisms which have jointed appendages, consists of lobster, crabs, spiders, mites, insects, centipedes, and millipedes. The features of arthropods: it has a chitinous exoskeleton, hard exoskeleton. Again, imagine a crab, shrimp, lobster, etc. I'm telling all those things because you might remember these things, as most of the Keralites must have consumed at least a few of things, except for a few. So they have a hard chitin, or imagine a beetle. You might have seen certain beetles coming into light at your home. That they have a hard body. So it is called as chitinous exoskeleton. We will discuss about it later, what is chitin, what is exoskeleton and all. So remember that they have a exoskeleton, that means the skeleton is outside, covering the body. So it's an exoskeleton. That exoskeleton is made of chitin, very hard kind of material, and it is a segmented body. Body is divided. That is a typical feature of insects that we discuss, entomos, segmented, and each segment bears jointed appendage. Arthropod means jointed appendages, and in arthropod, in if you see old organisms, almost all the arthropods had segments, appendages in each segment, but later on certain groups lost a few appendages. But evolutionarily, primitive insects and all had appendages in all the segments, but later on the insect lost it. That you can see. You might have seen caterpillars. In caterpillars, you might have seen numerous legs, isn't it? At least there will be about 8 legs. But take the case of a butterfly. The larvae convert into pupae, then pupae then convert into butterfly. But in the adult stage, you can see only 3 pairs of legs or 6 legs. So that means as the insect evolves, it has lost its appendages. But scientists have proved that each insect, even though it has only 3 pairs of legs, each segment of insect has the ability to develop an appendage. So they have shown it to, we think by certain mutations in the genetic makeup, they have made the insects to develop legs in all the segments. So that is there in the genetic makeup of insects, but during evolution it lost, because it is more easy for the insect, because the insects developed the ability to fly and all. So it lost the appendages in all the segments. And the body is triploblastic. You might have studied about diploblastic, triploblastic in your +1, +2. That means body is derived from ectoderm, mesoderm, and the body is bilaterally symmetrical. That means if you take a crab, divide it in the center, it can be exact mirror images. That is bilaterally symmetrical. Take a spider, cut it along the middle on the longitudinal way, then one side we have 4 legs, another side we have 4 legs. So it will be mirror image. So it is bilaterally symmetrical. The features of arthropods, I'm repeating again: hard exoskeleton made of chitin is there. Body is segmented, that I know. Each segment will have jointed appendages. Body is derived from ectoderm, entoderm, and mesoderm, and body is bilaterally symmetrical. Then coming to the classification of arthropod, I am not going into taxonomic part, just giving an examples and what are the characters of it. So the phylum Arthropoda consists of 5 subphylum. The first one is Trilobitomorphs, second is Myriapoda, third is Chelicerata, then Crustacea and Hexapoda. Just a minute. Okay, so Arthropoda consists of subphylum Trilobitomorphs, Myriapoda, Chelicerata, Crustacea, and Hexapoda. Trilobitomorphs contains the class Trilobites, but it's an extinct group. That group members are not present now. Myriapoda, we have two classes, Chilopoda and Diplopoda. Chilopoda consists of centipede and Diplopoda consists of millipede. We will discuss in the next slide what are diplopods and what are chilopods. We will discuss about the subphylum Myriapoda. Then Chelicerata, we have a class Arachnida. This Arachnida includes spiders, mites, ticks, scorpions. I think most of you might have seen a scorpion, horseshoe crabs, sea spiders. These two you might not have seen. But spiders, I'm sure everyone of you might have seen. Scorpions also, mites, it is microscopic, you might not have seen. Then comes the next subphylum, Crustacea. I think most of you might be familiar with prawns, crabs, lobsters. Woodlouse you may not be familiar with, but prawns, crabs, and lobsters you might be familiar with. And hexapod we have class insecta. During taxonomy, Asina madam will teach you about two separate non-insect and hexapods and insecta. That will be dealt with later. So we will just okay. So we'll discuss about Myriapoda first. Myriad means myriad, M-Y-R-I-A-D. Myriad means it is n number of, more number of. Poda means legs. So myriapods means many feet or many legged. And you can see centipede, Paldara or another, Terata, you can see. And both centipedes and millipedes are having a pair of antenna. You can see a pair of antenna in front of the head. And the chilopods, as you so told, it is a centipede. Example is a centipede. It has a single pair of appendage per segment. You can see this segment, one pair of appendage. This segment, one pair of each segment having one pair of appendage. But take the case of Diplopoda. Example is millipede. Each segment is having two pairs of appendages. So Chilopoda, centipede, it has each segment having single pair of appendage, but diplopods, as the name indicates, di means two, each segment having two pairs of appendages. And it's respires with the help of trachea. Trachea is the respiratory organ in myriapods. And arachnida, arachnids, I told you that we have scorpions, spiders, mites, etc. Here, we have four pairs of legs. You can see, you can take the example of spiders. So we have four pairs of legs. Remember it like that, take the example. And it doesn't have any antenna. That also you can imagine, because if you take a spider, you don't have an antenna, just like an antenna which we have seen in a centipede and millipede, or in an insect we have antenna. So this arachnid doesn't have any antenna, and their respiration is with the help of book lungs. It's not trachea, it is book lungs. Remember it. Respiration of arachnid is by the help of book lungs, and we have a chelicerae in front of it. You can see it over here. This is a mite. You can see the chelicerae. This is a modified mouth part. Here also you can see two chelicerae. This is a modified mouth part. So arachnids, it has four pair of legs. It doesn't have any antenna. Respiration is by book lengths, and the mouth parts we have modified chelicerae. Then comes crustacea. the most of the members are familiar to you. Just a minute. Minimize. Okay. Crabs, lobsters, prawns, etc. As with crabs, it can be terrestrial as well as aquatic. You might seen it. Crabs are terrestrial as well as aquatic. So crustaceans can be terrestrial as well as aquatic. And it has two pairs of antenna. Imagine a prawn. If someone of you have handled a prawn, you can see, or you if you have the opportunity to handle a prawn, you can see it has two pairs of antenna and minimum five pairs of legs. And since it is aquatic, its respiration is with the help of gills. I will repeat. It can be aquatic or terrestrial with two pairs of antenna, minimum five pairs of legs, and the respiration is with the help of gills. Then coming to the our group, that is class Insecta. We will discuss about it thoroughly in this course. Here, the body is divided into head, thorax, and abdomen. I will request you to try to collect a grasshopper or a cockroach. Try to handle it. Many of the students may not be that happy to handle an insect. Especially as a kid and all, you might be frightened by the presence of cockroaches and all. But here in entomology, you have to learn to handle an insect. So try to get hold of a cockroach or a grasshopper or at least a dragonfly. Catch hold of a dragonfly and see how or an ant, even ant will do, slightly bigger ant. You try to get hold of it, see it carefully. You can see the body is divided into head, thorax, and abdomen. You can clearly see three parts of the body: head, thorax, and abdomen. I will just draw a brief outline of an insect, then you will be able to understand it better. See, every insect will be having a head like this, then it will have a thorax, then after thorax it will have an elongated abdomen. Okay, consider this as a dragonfly. Dragonfly body shape is almost similar to it, and here you will have a pair of wings. Okay, and here you will have a pair of antenna. You will have a pair of eyes over here, and this is, we are viewing it from the top. We call it as the dorsal part. From below, if you see, you can see three pairs of legs. So the body is divided into, this is the head, this is the head, this is the thorax, and this is the abdomen. Again, the body will be divided into segments. Abdomen will be divided over here. We'll discuss about it later. Okay. And we have bodies divided into head, thorax, and abdomen. We have one pair of antenna. We have three pairs of legs. You can see, handle an insect and see at least an ant. And wings, we have two pairs of wings. That you might have seen. Butterflies, two pairs of wings. If you are so much disgusted with watching or handling an insect, then try to get hold of a butterfly or a moth. Then also you can see almost all those things. Then respiration is with the help of trachea. Respiration is with the help of trachea, that is the same as the case of arachnida. Excretion is with the help of malphigian tubules. Excretion is with the help of malphigian tubules, and it has characteristic metamorphosis. What is metamorphosis? Have you studied what is metamorphosis? No? Okay. Larvae to adult. Yes. Yes. Larvae to adult. Yes. Good. Egg, larvae, pupae, adult. So imagine a butterfly. You might have studied the butterfly, mosquito, and all life cycle. It will be laid as eggs will be laid. Eggs hatches into a larvae. The larvae feeds on yes. It's not alternation of generation, but variation in the morphological forms during different parts of the life cycle. The larvae will feed on leaves, etc., and it will pupate. It is an inactive stage, and it gets after pupal stage. It is the adult stage. So that is metamorphosis. We will discuss about the relevance of metamorphosis in the next class. But so that is metamorphosis is a characteristic of insects. Remember butterflies. So body is divided into head, thorax, and abdomen. It has one pair of antenna, three pairs of legs, two pairs of wings. Respiration is with the help of trachea. Excretion is by malphizian tubules, and it has metamorphosis. So that is the basic characters. And insects can be defined as triploblastic. That means it is cells are derived from ectoderm, endoderm, and mesoderm, are defined as triploblastic. Bilaterally symmetrical. That means both sides are symmetrical. Bilaterally symmetrical. Tracheate arthropods because their respiration is by trachea, with the body divided into head, thorax, and abdomen that I told you, and it possesses two pairs of wings and three pairs of legs. So, if you are asked to define an insect, you should give this definition: triploblastic, bilaterally symmetrical, tracheate arthropods with body divided into head, thorax, and abdomen, and it possesses two pairs of wings and three pairs of legs. I will repeat. Insects are triploblastic, bilaterally symmetrical, tracheate arthropods with body divided into head, thorax, and abdomen, and each insect has two pairs of wings and three pairs of legs. Now let's see a few history. This is the last part. We'll quickly go through it. I think you might have all studied about Carl Linnaeus, the person, the scientist who is introduced the binomial nomenclature and all. So the Carl Linnaeus, he studied the organisms all over the world, and he studied the insects of our country also. So he published a System in Nature, a 10th edition. Actually, the first edition in 1735. 10th edition is the important one in 1758. He has given many named many insects from our country also, and the first scientist to study focusing on Indian insects was a scientist named J.C. Fabricius. He studied from 1745 to 1808. He is the first scientist to study Indian insects exclusively, and in 1893 the then British government published a book, Fauna of British India. Fauna of British India, encompassing the different living organisms in our country. And have you heard about lac? What is lac? What is the importance of lac in our mythology, Indian mythology? Arak, yes. As Vismaya pointed out, Arakan. You might have heard about Arakillam in Mahabharata. Lac, yes, Mahabharata, yes. Lac is a secretion of insect. It is produced by an insect, and this lac is used for several purposes. So there was a scientist named Kerr. India is the largest producer of lac in the world. So Kerr is a scientist. Kerr is a scientist who studied about lac insects of our country. Then later on, Reverend Father Hope studied about the insects of Himalayas and India. So he published that book, Entomology of Insects, Himalayas and India. Then there was a scientist called Rothney, who studied about Indian ants. He published the book with that same name, Indian Ants, that book published by Rothney. And It was a work by a scientist named Ronald Rose. His work was in Secunderabad, actually, a part of Hyderabad, wherein he discovered that Anopheles mosquitoes are the one which are the vectors of malaria. So he was the first scientist to discover malarial parasite inside Anopheles mosquito and later proved that Anopheles mosquitoes transmit the disease malaria. So Ronald Rose is the scientist who was actually all these are British scientists. At that time our country was in the British rule, so these scientists worked in our country. And in 1901, at the beginning of last century, government of India, that means the British government, appointed an entomologist. Thus, the post was called as imperial entomologist because at that time our country was under the British king and queen. So the post was called as imperial entomologist to government of India. The first imperial entomologist to government of India was Lionel D. Niceville. Lionel D. Niceville. He was appointed in 1901. But later on, in 1903, another scientist occupied that post, replacing Lionel D. Niceville, Maxwell Lefroy. Its full name is Harold Maxwell Lefroy. It's abbreviated as HM Lefroy, Harold Maxwell Lefroy. So he contributed a lot to the study of insects in our country. He published two books, Indian Insect Pest and Indian Insect Life, exclusively after studying the insects in our country. So Maxwell Lefroy has contributed much to entomology in our country. And there was a scientist called as Stebbing, E.P. Stebbing. Stebbing. He studied about insects of forest and brought out a book called Forest Entomology. Stebbing is studied insects in the forest. Then the then Madras government, actually at that time we were all under the Madras presidency, under British government. The then Madras government appointed an entomologist, and that official title was entomologist to Madras state. And the first person to be appointed at that post was T.B. Fletcher, again a foreigner, in 1914. And he studied about the South Indian insects and brought out the book Some South Indian Insects. Some South Indian Insects. And P.V. Ramakrishna Iyer is again, as the name indicates, is South Indian. He studied about South Indian insects and published a book, Handbook of Economic Entomology of South India. Handbook of Economic Entomology of South India, written by P.V. Ramakrishna Iyer. Then Y. Ramayendra Rao is a scientist who studied about locust. Someone told the name of locust earlier. So it is called, that book is called as the Desert Locust of India. This is still considered as a valid document on locust still. And later on, another scientist, actually this is a person from Punjab. Its name is H.S. Prithvi. Full name is Hain Singh Prithvi. He published a book called Textbook of Agriculture Entomology. Then from him, Ramakrishna Iyer and all, we had scientists, Indian scientists working on entomology. So Ramakrishna Iyer, Y. Ramayendra Rao, then all other persons worked on our Indian scientists worked on Indian insects. H.S. Prithvi published a book, Textbook of Agriculture Entomology. Then M.S. Mani published a book called titled General Entomology. All these are considered as classic textbooks on entomology. Then Dr. S. Pradhan published a book, it's an ICA publication, Insect Pests of Crops. Actually, Dr. S. Pradhan was the head of Division of Entomology, IRA, New Delhi. And it's still a book prescribed for several zoology courses in our country as well as agriculture courses. Elements of Economic Entomology by Basandaraj David and Kumaraswamy. Elements of Economic Entomology, Basandaraj David and Kumaraswamy. Actually, it's about the 10th edition, or now is in the authors are slightly changed. Actually, the authors are now Basandaraj David and P.V. Ramamurthy. But you can remember this too because this is the first edition. These are their first contribution is by these two scientists. And Keralite, Dr. M.R.G.K. Nair. considered as a doyen of entomology in our country. He published a book that is an ICAR publication, Insects and Mites of Crops in India, uh, detailing about the insects and mites infesting various crops in our country. Then there is a general and applied entomology book published by K.K. Nair, T.N. Anandakrishnan, and P.V. David. Actually, this K.K. Nair is from University of Kerala. T.N. Anandakrishnan died about 5 or 6 years back. He was a well-known scientist in the field of study of thrips. We'll discuss about that insect, worldwide renowned insect. P.V. David, that scientist is still alive. Vasundaraj David is still alive. So, general and applied entomology is another book. All this book contributed to the development of entomology in our country. Now let's see a few important institutions in the field of entomology. In 1905, as you might have studied the history of agriculture in our country, the Agriculture Research Institute, later it was renamed as Imperial Agriculture Institute, and later as Indian Agriculture Institute, established in 1905 by Lord Curzon in Pusa, Bihar. In Dehradun, in 1906, a Forest Research Institute was established. In that institute, that scientist E.P. Stebbing, who studied on forest insects, he worked in Forest Research Institute, FRA Dehradun. That institute is still there, one of the finest forest institutes in our country. And in 1911, the Agriculture Research Institute was renamed as Imperial Agriculture Research Institute. In 1940, Zoological Survey of India is established. Zoological Survey of India is one organization which works on animals, organisms, living organisms of our country, and it has a huge division of scientists which works exclusively on insects, mainly on taxonomy of insects. Then in 1925, another institute was established, that was Indian Institute of Natural Resins and Gum. Indian Institute of Natural Resins and Gums. Actually, its original name was Indian Lac Research Institute, Indian Lac Research Institute. But about 10 years back, in between 2005 and 2010, the name was changed into Indian Institute of Natural Resins and Gums. It's in Ranchi, Nampum. Actual place is Nampum, Ranchi. I can remember Ranchi with relate with Mahendra Singh Dhoni. That is the place of MS Dhoni. And in 1936, that story you might have studied, because of the earthquake, they from Pusa, IRA shifted to New Delhi. And in 1937, once it is established in New Delhi, division of entomology under IRA, separate division of entomology was established in 1937. And in 1946, Directorate of Plant Protection, Quarantine and Storage. We will discuss about what are the functions of that. In Faridabad, it was established in 1946. Still that directorate is functioning in our country. And in 1946, National Institute of Plant Health Management, established in Hyderabad. NIPHM, actually its original name was CPPTA, Central Plant Protection Training Institute. By 2011 or 2012, its name was changed to National Institute of Plant Health Management. 1947, IRA, Imperial Agriculture Research Institute, was renamed as Indian Agriculture Research Institute. In 2009, there was an institute established specifically for the study of insects, that is called as National Bureau of Agriculturally Important Insects at Bangalore. National Bureau of Agriculturally Important Insects. Later on, the name again changed into National Bureau of Agricultural Insect Resources. Now the name is changed to National Bureau of Agricultural Insect Resources, NBAIR, Bangalore. And in 1988, Delhi IRA campus itself, one institute was established, that is NCIPM, National Center for Integrated Pest Management. So this is the thing which I wanted to discuss today. I went a bit slow. I discussed it slowly. It took around 2 minutes or so extra. You can, if you want any clarifications, you can ask me. Any doubt? No doubts? Is it fine to take the class in the same form? Are you comfortable with this mode of teaching? Fine. If you need any modification, you can tell it now. Just a minute. I will give the link for attendance. Just now. I have given the Google form link. You can type it. You can just give the name and roll number. That's fine. Okay. Any doubts? Any clarifications? And I will request everyone to have a look into, try to get hold of any insight, because if it was an offline session, physical classes, you would have to collect insects, preserve it, and submit it at the end of the course. You have to collect around 100 or 200 insects, different groups, not a single insect.